Here we are, Blues Matters. And in the studio today for interview, we have Chris Vincent.
Hello, my
Hi,
friend.
Chris. How are
How
you
are you,
doing
brother?
today?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Thank you very much for like we spoke of briefly, your interest in listening to the music and having me on, the whole 9 yards, man. Thank you.
And what's it like to be in New Orleans these days?
Uh, I love it. I love it all year long. I love the seasonality of it. In the summertime, hide until 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, sometimes later. In the heat of the summer, it can be blast furnace for sure. It feels like a pizza oven when I open my door. Sometimes, like at 12 o'clock, I have I walk. I have my dog sitting right here, right over next to me. To let her out, I'll open the door, and sometimes she'll poke out and go, "Mm-mm, no, I can hold it. I'm good to go." Goes
Yeah.
right back to her little chair. But I in New Orleans, it's a great time as a musician. It's a great time to get things done. Like there's a reason why this record is getting released in the summertime, because I knew that I would have, first of all, it's an independent artist. I'm not going to go fighting Christmas records for sure. There's the dog in the background. And it's easy to book studio time. I'm going back in the studio in August to record another record later August. I got those calls in. I love it, man. I love it. Um, this is a place that I have felt was home for a long time, and I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm here in the condition that I'm in. Sober. I was here before. Didn't go well. It did not go. I mean, I laugh now, but it's not funny, man. It didn't go well.
It's
But as a writer, as a songwriter, I couldn't. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, man. I wouldn't want to be. I walk out that door, that blast furnace door. Granted, I'm not going to hunt songs up at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, but all I need to do is walk out that door, and they're there. A lot of the songs on the record are a lot of them come from conversations, the kernels of which are done in just in my daily moving around.
Tell us about your musical journey. What's the backstory? How did you get into music?
Uh, the short story, I was late to the party. Um, I got into Bob Dylan when I was 15. I'm like, I like this whole deal. And I got into Bob Dylan, picked up a guitar when I was about 17. Banged around, did what I could, and then like a lot of other blues players, I kind of went backwards. And I love the Rolling Stones, Keith Richards, and I said I still to this day, as far as like a rhythm guitar player, Keith Richards without parallel for me, the greatest rhythm guitar player of all time. Nobody does it like him. And when I found out he played in open G, I was like, all right, well, it's good enough for Keith. I'm going to give it a go. And then went backwards, and I researched it. And Keith Richards said he plays in open G largely because of Robert Johnson, who played in open A. He had a higher voice, but Jagger had a lower voice, so he dropped it to open G. And like a lot of guitar players, new or older, new or experienced guitar players, they listen to certain Robert Johnson songs, and I was a kid, and I shake my head. I'm like, that's three guitars. I don't know what's going on. And this is pre-internet. I'm not 20 years old, obviously. And I'm like, can't make heads or tails. Some of the Robert Johnson stuff's very accessible. Some of it, the really cool stuff, it sounds like three guitars, and it's a function of using an open tuning and a finger picking, which is a tricky thing to do in and of itself. And then I went backwards and found Son House. So once I saw Son House, I was like, okay, once I listened to Son House, my ears basically could adapt to what he was doing, figure out there was enough space in between so I could figure out what it was. And then when I was, I don't know, 17, 18, I remember the record like it was yesterday. Son House, The Real Folk Blues. It had like a little cartoon of him on the front. I ran that back. It's been a long time since I've listened to that record, but I fucking bet you, brother, I could play that note for note right now. Oh, and he's got, he sets it up, man. He set up a life, and for me, he set up a life in music that was at this point pretty pretty varied, and the only constants, like, I'm certainly not playing Delta blues music now, like strict Delta blues. It's evolved. I went from blues, uh, and had success as a blues as a pretty traditional blues artist, or minor success. Um, and ran around, did some touring around 2000, the year 1999, 2000. And, like a lot of artists, the lifestyle certainly did not agree. It agreed with me, but it did not agree with me. And I started uh, playing around way too much with alcohol and some other things. It was an interesting time, man. I was running around playing blues festivals out of New Orleans, living in New Orleans at the time. But I remember the woman that I was living with, she said, "Chris, you can't do this, man. You cannot be down here. This place is going to kill you." And she said, "I'm leaving and I want you to come with me." And I looked at her, and I looked at her. It was like a moment of clarity and a big fog. I said, "Man, you're right. I can't be here." So, long story short, maybe you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It took me a long time to get sober. Did that 5 years ago, moved back to New Orleans 3 years ago. I wasn't stupid. I didn't come right back here after I stopped. And that's been part of the journey. And in that interim, after leaving New Orleans, I largely, for the first time, I put the guitar down for, I'm guessing, 18 years pretty much. But I never stopped listening to music, and I got very heavily into jazz, and listening to jazz. And then when I got sober, it's like a switch went off, Colin. It was the strangest thing. And I got sober right at the beginning of COVID, because I knew, I looked around the place I was living at in New Jersey. I said, this is right as everything was going to shut down. I looked around and I said, there's no fucking way I'm walking out of this one. And I made the call. Any of your viewers who are watching know what that call is. That's a call that takes a long time to make. They picked me up the next day, went to sleepaway camp for 45 days. And I'm not going to say I never looked back, but I changed. And I basically, the whole process of being alone in the house and sober, I played a lot of guitar for about a year, man. I remember sitting there. I got a picture of, I got a poster of Joe Pass on the wall over here. And I remember going, well, if I'm going to give this a go, I'm going to go at the level at the highest level that I can go for. And I'm sitting there playing Joe Pass stuff note for note and bringing blues into it. And the guitar style basically is a melding of slide guitar. Everything's played in open G. All jazz is played. I mean, if you're playing open, I had to rewrite a lot. It's not rewriting, but I had to reconfigure an awful lot of chords, and just the way that you finger them on the guitar neck. They don't make manuals for playing jazz in open G. So I had to reset a whole bunch of stuff. But I put my time in, man, and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote.
Are you from a musical family? I mean, not at all.
Answer: my mother loved music, loved music, loved music. My father, complicated man, not so much. But none of them could sing a note. None of them could play a note. No. Right. Maybe I can play a few notes, but I don't know about sing a few notes. You've heard me sing. I'm lucky that I talk in the key of G effectively. That is basically a lucky shot. It's true, brother. It's true.
Why the guitar? What made you gravitate towards the guitar?
I'm gonna go back to. I mean, I loved the fact that I love that a single person could write their story and present that story on a guitar. And then I love the fact that, again, back to Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan could do his thing with a guitar. Son House, Robert Johnson, Charlie Patton, also Booker White, fucking brilliant player. A lot of the chugging rhythm stuff I learned from those early on. He was an eye opener. I'm like, you can approach the guitar, doesn't have to be kind of folky, It can. I mean, it's great if it is, if the person's doing it right, but it can be an awful lot of things. Um, and that's the way I treat it. One of my, I don't want to say obsessions, but it might be one of my main artistic goals, as a guitar player, as an instrumentalist, is to take that guitar as far as I could take it, to meld those arguably very disparate influences. Like blues and jazz are like this. I mean, some blues guys will thumb their nose at jazz. Some jazz guys will thumb their nose at blues. To me, it's the same 12 notes. And if they can play together right, then they can tell a story that maybe hasn't been told before. And that's what I'm shooting for. That's what I hope is on this record. Something to give the listener a different take on blues. People ask me what kind of music it is, and the one of the earliest questions I had with the publicist that I'm working with, he said, "What kind of music do you play?" And I stumbled over it, and I said, "Well, it's like the music is jazz and blues and country and Americana and folk, and it's all melded together. It's very rhythmic." He goes, "Well, you're a roots player." I said, "Mark, that's the easiest way to say it, man. There's a lot of intermingling influences that hopefully are certainly not mimicry. I mean, when I listen to it, I don't hear me copying other people. I hear me melding a lot of different styles, and hopefully coming out, as my own player. I hope so."
Yeah, you certainly mix a whole load of styles. And in this day and age, does genre matter? I mean, we used to flick through LPs and it would say blues, it would say jazz. Where would you go? Where would your album be if you were flicking through that?
This one, Good Crook, is definitely a blues record for sure. It's definitely a blues record. I mean, yeah, I would say it's a blues record. There's two sides to the record. The part of it is with half. There's 12 songs. Half of it has instrumentation that's other than the guitar, and the other half of it is just me and the guitar. Me and the guitar would be like singer-songwriter blues roots, I would say. And with the band, especially with Johnny Vidakovich, who is just, that was a legendary. I'm talking a lot about Johnny these days. He's a hell of a guy. He's a very unique guy. An absolute master musician. Certainly not, the whole phrase is, the old joke, what do you call the guy who hangs around with the musicians? The drummer. Fucking does not apply. Doesn't apply. I mean, he was, the best way I can say it, he was like recording with him. I've seen him dozens of times. Played with him the first time on the day of the recordings, the first day of the recordings, and all the Johnny stuff was done in 4 hours. Like all the stuff you hear on that record was me giving Johnny the skeleton of the songs. Sent them to him. I sent the songs to him previously. It was very obvious very quickly that he never pressed play on the songs. So I'm like, all right, well, here we go. Johnny, here's how it goes. At the 4, we're going to break it. But he's like, got it. And sure enough, the 4 hours later, we had, more than enough. Some of the songs ended up on the cutting room floor, in favor of others. We effectively recorded 2 albums basically in one day. The best of which, or not even the best of which, I write a lot of songs. Are they all wildly different? No, some of them are very similar. So I had to be like, okay, we're going to use this one and then focus on that. But I mean, he's an experience. He was like, I've said it before. There's really it's a little bit of a broken record at this point, given the explanation, but I'm a big fan of Matisse as an artist. Choice. I'm artistically drawn to the guy. Could do anything with color. Why did he choose the colors that he did, and how did they endure for this long? I mean, the choices are still perfect. He's still viewed as that. Playing with Johnny was like sitting with Matisse as like a fly on the wall in the studio with a whole bunch of reds on a palette, and him walking up to the palette, looking around and going, I'm going to take that one, and making one little stroke and it being perfect. And that's what Johnny He does it. I listened to the record. It's strange. Like the record's been in the can for a while, and now there's a publicity push. We're talking because of that push. This weekend, prior to this interview, yours is very thankfully the first live interview that I'm doing for the record, and there are at this point quite a few of them set up, and that's fantastic. So I'm thinking to myself, I spent the weekend in Mississippi with my girlfriend. We get away sometimes from the city to decompress, and I'm like, you know what? Let me take a drive and listen to this goddamn thing so I know what I'm talking about, because it's been a while. And the single coming out in a couple days, or a week or so, Midnight After All, is arguably kind of it's a heavy song. It's got a hard on the 4 beat, and Johnny's banging the hell out of the drums. But in that context, both of us, it's going back to where you play. Both of us have musical ADHD or ADD. Will change signatures or accents on a dime, the both of us. And that's why I wanted him on the record. I wanted him to be him. And when I listen to Midnight After All, yes, if you ask me, a lot of the stuff with the band on the record is blues, but I would say it's jazz masquerading as blues, because those live recordings, and Colin, I don't have, I guess, artistically, the way that I go about it is, if I can't play it on the guitar live for you the way that it's on the record, I just don't have any interest in doing that. I don't have an interest in like layering a whole bunch of parts. An old Louis Armstrong, all those old jazz cats, Joe Pass, Herb Ellis. There's hundreds of recordings of those guys because they were playing around. Somebody booked them for a recording session in the afternoon. They came in, laid it down, done, out the door, and that's that. Guitar clams and all, and maybe some rhythmic drops. And on Good Crook, there are a couple spots where I was like, that could have been done better. But I'm like, no, I'm not going in there and punching it in, because that's a jazz record. There's gonna be clams, and what you see, guitar clams, or I've listened to it over the weekend. I don't hear a single drop with Johnny. I just don't hear it. If anything, I didn't cue him enough to know where I was going, and the both of us found each other in the middle. But it's I like people. People ask me, if they ask about the guitar, they'll say, what's the deal with the guitar? I'm like, in actuality, I'm really a drummer trapped inside of I can't play a set of drums. I'm no drummer. I wouldn't sit behind and make believe I could do it. But in actuality, rhythmically, I'm a drummer trapped in a guitar player's body, for sure.
Talk about your guitar, about Gloria in particular. How long have you had her?
I am a very, very fortunate man. And with Gloria, that's the main guitar. It's a 1947 Gibson L7. Because I go, I ask a lot of a single guitar. I can be very hard on it, very rhythmic, very percussive. You play like the Freddie Green stuff on it. There's a lot that I want. The big arch tops can do that. The great ones are incredible at doing that, and the late 40s Gibsons are killer. And that guitar, Crazy's over 75 years old, as well constructed as anything I've ever played, as reliable as anything I ever played. The tuners on it are original, for Christ's sake. I mean, I'm not kidding you, bro. It's been refretted. I had it refretted. I had to go to a guy in New Orleans who's brilliant, Benjamin Strange Guitar Works, takes care of the guitars. And I crossed my fingers and I was like, Benjamin, don't fuck this up. And he was like, I got it. And it came back. I was like, yeah, he nailed it. Yeah. But what that guitar can do, best way to describe it for a non-guitar player, for most people, a guitar is a guitar. It sounds good or it doesn't sound good. For a guitar player, this one's got throttles, and you can literally, if you play it gently and softly, it can do an awful lot that like a flat guitar can do. But when I start to whack the hell out of the guitar on a flat top guitar, it kind of gets overwhelmed. It doesn't respond well. But the arch tops are made to play pretty hard, and I can move back and forth. And I've had, let's put it this way, brother. With guitars, anybody who's been around the block with guitars will know exactly what I'm saying. I've had many girlfriends, but one wife, my friend, and that's it. That's it. That's the one. Some guitar players have dozens of guitars. I have a few. I've 4 or 5 of them. Only one that I play. Only one that I.
And the album itself, I mean, it sounds so organic. It's from the floor. How did that production start? How did it all start?
Our mutual friend Mr. Dean Zucchero, the Zen master, Buddhist Captain Hub of New Orleans. I love that dude. He is brilliant. A huge shout. Dean was incredibly influential with this record. He plays bass guitar on a few of the cuts, brilliantly so. I think some of the bass parts that he puts on there are so good. I play the bass on the guitar as well as playing the guitar at the same time. On some of the songs, I pulled back on that and there's one of the dogs coming in. Okay, buddy, and left holes for him. And Dean's ears are as sharp as tacks. He's a guy at some point, and I love this. The fact in New Orleans is everybody knows how to play the instruments. It's not a question of can you play the bass, of course everybody knows how to play the guitars or the drums or whatever. And for the men and the women who do that, they reach a certain level. It's not about playing, it's about choosing. And Dean played parts that are just perfectly complimentary. He was the one that pushed me and said, and Dean never played with Johnny Vodakovich. He said, "You've seen him so many times, you love him. Why don't you just give him a call?" And I was like, "Dean, I don't know him. I don't know. How's he gonna?" He's like, "Just give him a call. What's the worst he's gonna say?" The answer is, I called Johnny, and Johnny was like, "Yeah, I'll play on your record." He does. He's got one of these New Orleans accents that kind of sounds like Brooklyn and Boston put together. He's like, "Yeah, we'll play. No worries." I'm like, "All right, that was easy." And then the production came from Jake Eckert, who runs River Shack Studios in Uptown New Orleans. A Grammy winner. I mean, you walk in, it's a nondescript studio in the back of his house, and there you go. There's all these all the accolades and everything's all over the place. And that was Dean. He pushed me there. And that's where I'm going. Why fix something that isn't broken? I'm going to record another record at the end of August, and that's exactly where I'm going.
Excellent. Talk about some of the songs. What's your song? Have you got a songwriting technique, or what happens? Is it a melody? Is it a riff?
Well,
you talk about paint. You talked about Matisse. Is it like that? Is it like palettes of color in your songwriting? What is it?
A lot of them come from conversations. There's like a kernel that happens. Okay, there's a single coming out in a couple days, Midnight After All. And Midnight After All is about a friend, a very close friend of a friend of mine who I really don't know. And I don't know the individual that the song is about. And I was getting a story relayed to me about this person. It's a woman, and she was involved with a guy who wasn't the best guy. And I'm trying to be diplomatic here, in a string of bad decisions, got married to the guy and had a baby with. And when I wrote the song, I was told that she was pregnant. And I was like, wait a second, she's marrying the guy and she's having a baby with this guy who's not a good guy. And I said the phrase, I'm like, Jesus, that's a needle spinning backwards, man. And I was like, I thought to myself, like, well, this person's never going to know the songs about her, or maybe she will. I don't know. You have to dot connect. I'm being very, very, very non-specific as to who I spoke with. Lots of people I know have babies. So this was that. So that was one conversation. And I think there's a song called Catherine the Great. This was again, it was a conversation. It wasn't a conversation. It was an observation in New Orleans, about a person that I know who isn't named Catherine, And I thought I was writing a story about Catherine's life, this woman that kind of like never found herself and ran, you know, drugs and ran around with a whole bunch of dudes and all this other stuff. And I looked at myself in the mirror, Colin, that no shit, 2 days after writing the song, the chorus is, you can bring a horse to water and you can whip it down the trail. And I looked in the fucking mirror and I said, son of a bitch, Catherine's me. It's not Catherine. I mean, that was me and the alcoholism and the drugs and everything else. I quit thousands of times. You know, I knew something was up, and I looked in the mirror, and it was one of those stark realities where maybe the whole art imitating life thing really does sneak in, and if it does, and that's I think Dean standout on that song. I think is Dean. Dean nails it. He puts a backbone on that song with the bass that lets it breathe in a way that if it was just me and Johnny, or just me and a drummer, and I do work with a lot of different drummers down here. One particularly Travis Mark is the road drummer for the Raw Deals. That's definitely, it's not Johnny Vidakovich. It's not. I'm not taking Johnny on the road, but Dean stands out with that one. But the songs come out sometimes. I would say they're more lyrically started, and the writing process for me is very quick. Like I said, man, I was very heavily involved in music and had a promising start and got sidetracked with alcohol, put the guitar down, put the pen down. And then when I got sober, the long story short is that I suppressed that portion of my personality to be creative. When I got sober, it was like hitting a floodgate. There's a lot of songs that are written. I mean, if I told you how many songs were written in the process before me, you know, me coming to New Orleans and moving to New Orleans to now, you would think that I was bullshitting you, but I'm not. It's a lot. It's a lot of songs.
What do you feel like when you listen to Catherine the Great now?
Thankful, grateful that I was able. You know, when you're like me, man, you know a lot of people who aren't here anymore. It's not. It used to be shocking. It's not shocking anymore. It's a sad scenario. But when I was I don't shy away from it. When I was in rehab, you know, you go there, you get all fucked. You're everything's all scattered. They put you in a room for a couple days to try to calm you down. And at some, you know, they at some point, 2 or 3 days in, a doctor comes in once you kind of are not as sketched out as you probably as I was for sure. And he sat down next to me and he said, "Man, you're in the right place, brother. You wouldn't have made it a month. You would have fallen asleep and not woken up." And that's the God's honest truth, man. There were more than a few things wrong from the abuse on my body. And he said, you would have fallen asleep and that was it. And Catherine the Great, that song, the fact that I was able to write that from the other side, even though I didn't know I was doing it at the time, I'm grateful that I was able to do it. And in a very, very, very strange, most people, especially the guys, and it's largely guys, the guys that helped me get sober before I moved back to New Orleans, when I said I'm moving to New Orleans, they looked at me and said, you got to be fucking nuts. He's like, what are you, you're nuts. You're crazy. And I said, I have no more desire to do that. And sure enough, Colin, the greatest in one of the strangest shifts of perception, the best place for me, not for everybody, the best place for me as a recovering alcoholic is New Orleans. Because if I walk out this door into this blast furnace and walk down the street, I see, unfortunately, men and women that I would be sitting right next to in a week. And I know that. So it's just not something that I do. It's not something that I fight every day, thank God. And to God, thank God. But it's just not something I do. It comes up in a lot of the songs for sure.
Yeah.
Wasted time, redemption, things that don't go well. You know, there's a line in one of the songs, things will go our way or they won't. And that's the life of that's a life I used to live, where you just kind of, you don't really care too much about what goes on from a day-to-day basis. But those days are beyond me.
But it takes us nicely to the New Orleans, My Darling.
Yeah. New Orleans, My Darling, I sat down. That one came with the guitar part. with that inversion that there's it's an F and it's an inversion on the 4 chord that is kind of distinctive at parts of that. If you hear me play the song live, there'll be different parts in a lot of those songs. That part will always be there. That 3-note simple inversion, but it works. Yeah, that's a song that's been written at this point. I released a record in 2024 called Things Have Changed, which was an all solo record. And at that point, New Orleans, My Darling was a very dark song. Like New Orleans took me. Yeah, it had its way with me. And then I thought to myself, there's a little bit of a rewrite going on here. And I rewrote the song for Good Crook, a little bit lyrically about it. It can be deleterious to one's health, but it also can be one of the greatest places in the world. No matter where I go now, Colin, no matter where I travel, it does not make a difference. In the 4 or 5 days in, I like traveling. I love it. I'll find myself thinking to myself, I wouldn't mind going to Portugal and having a hamburger right now, which is the hamburger shop up the street for me. And the way it does it, no matter where I go, it's always there. And then after that fucking ridiculous shit with the guy that ran the truck down Bourbon Street on New Year's Eve, a lot of us in New Orleans felt very helpless. We're like, this is crazy. What do we do now? We're got to worry about this stuff, all the other shit that's going on. And when I sing the song now, at the very end of the song, the last verse is changed, and now it's New Orleans, my darling, dear Lord, watch over the company I keep, and that's the truth. That is the truth, and I like that. Hindsight's 2020. Do I wish that was on the record? Yeah, I think it makes it a better song, but we'll leave the one on the record as it is, and we'll figure out the next version at another time.
What about the song Good Crook itself?
I didn't like Good Crook when I first wrote it. I didn't. It was a song. I was writing a lot of love songs. And Good Crook came out. I don't know where the Good Crook came from, but I did hear the phrase, where that came, where the title. I don't know where it came from. I heard in passing, on walking down the street, I heard somebody with a southern drawl, a man who was being yelled at by a woman, like a husband and wife. And which can happen. People get drunk and they start screaming at each other sometimes. But as I was walking past, the guy very calmly said to the woman, who was not calm, he said in a southern accent, he goes, yelling don't make it true. And I was like, oh boy. And the first line of the song is, I heard you the first time, yelling don't make it true. And then I basically wrote the story, the fictional story. I don't know the couple, the fictional story of that couple, and how the guy in the story gets taken advantage of and knowingly gives his time to somebody, and the person was good at what they did. And and people, that particular song, people have asked me this, man, somebody hurt you? I'm like, no. I was married. I am divorced. I have an amicable relationship with my ex-wife. It is not about her. Sometimes they're just stories, and that one's a story.
Cows? Yeah.
Cows I love, brother. I'm glad you asked about that one. My neighbor, Miss Jody McGinnis. She's a full-on Cajun, 100% Cajun. Times something went on with the music. I scored a movie. There's a song from Things Have Changed, 2024 record called Cash Only. Through a series of events, I ended up scoring a guy's movie. It's like a bad guys doing bad things movie that, a bunch of gangsters robbing gangsters. It's like a heist movie. He came to me and he said he's a poet, playwright, and I was on like a songwriter's stage, and he came to me and he wanted to use Half Block Cadillac, which is another version that Johnny plays the hell out of on this record. And I said, no, I got another one called Cash Only. I think it's going to work better. I sent him a demo of the song. He's like, yep, let's use that one. And I was talking with Jody McGinnis, my next door neighbor, and she said, "Hey, Chris, how's it going?" And I said, "Jody, this is weird shit, man. A guy who's now a very close friend of mine, Guion Smith, asked me to score his movie, and he's going to use Cash Only as the opening scene, like of the gangsters robbing the gangsters." And she looks at me and goes, "Well, Chris, when the cows lie down, fish are biting." And I said, "What, Jody? Can I can I get a Cajun translation on that one, please?" And she goes, "Well, I guess you would say," and there was a lot loaded up with that one. She's like, "I guess you would say, strike while the iron's hot." And then I said, "Well, what does it mean?" Long story short, in the country, in Louisiana, for some reason, it's something to do with the moon. When the cows lie down in the middle of the day, that's when fish are caught readily, some sort of fish. I don't know exactly what the story is, but when the cows lie down in northern Louisiana, anybody with a fishing pole runs to the fishing hole and puts their hook in because it's easy to catch. And I love that one got on the record. I love that one got on the record. That's one. 2 songs on the record. That's one of them that got reworked very slightly in studio. And it came out okay. I like it. And for fuck's sake, in New Orleans, I am at this point in my life certainly no stranger for whatever the flag is. Let it fly. Let whatever it makes no difference. Don't hurt anybody. Do whatever you want. Otherwise,
Another one I like is Snakes.
Snakes is a love song, brother.
Yeah.
Hate this. Snakes is a yeah, that is about my girlfriend currently and back then. Let's just say she's a beautiful woman. Let's leave it at that. Hate to see you go, love to watch it pass. And crazy enough, man, that was a hell of a that you know, for somebody of my age, and yes, the internet is something that you have to be involved in it with music. It's a necessity, but it is not. It's not something that's a focus of mine. It's much more the songs. And I hang around with a lot of writers, songwriters, and poets. And I was at one of my buddies' houses, Jack Lucas's house, at this point about 2 months ago, at a very small gathering. You know, I had a couple brand new songs. He had a couple poems. There's like 5, maybe 8 people there, maybe 10. And some of the poets, some of the people at the little party, they got up there and they said their poems, and it was some of them were very, very heavy emotional poems. And I was like, I looked at the person I was with, and she said, what are you gonna do here? She's like, she looked at me and she said, "Chris, you got to lighten this up a little bit." And I was like, I got an idea. And it was the poet that went before, that recited her stuff before me. It was a heavy duty poem about abuse and a number of other things that I won't go into. So the room was down, and I grabbed Gloria. Old Gloria and me were there, and I said, "Well, here we go." And I, sang this love song, and these 2 young ladies, also one of them being a poet, they grabbed onto it right away, and they start screaming along with me, and I'm singing the song, and sure enough, I wake up the next day, and there's a million fucking hits on this thing. Or 2 days later, I asked Jack. I said, "Jack, did you take a video of me singing Snakes? Because that was fun with the girls singing." And he sent it to me, and I said, "Oh, this looks fun." So I put it on the internet, and then the next day I was like, "Son of a bitch, look at this." And that was an experience. It was an experience, and what that does is basically create a much larger audience. Like once a large number of people watch the videos, the next, the videos concurrently or after that, they get views, and it's a crazy thing now. I'm sitting here with my dog. She's right off camera, right next to me. I mean, I've got pictures of me playing jazz. I mean, I've got videos of me playing jazz. Little jazz snippets, blues pieces, jazz pieces that are, 500,000, 700,000. It's a lot of people, man. It's a crazy thing. Crazy thing. People ask me to marry them. Boys and girls ask me to marry them from the internet. Who's it about? Are you married? You should be married. You should marry me. It's fucking nuts. But I will say this much as far as like Snakes is concerned. That's me and Johnny. That's a guitar, one guitar and one drum set, and that's the type of music I love. I mean, I remember when Vodakovich said he looked at me, and I mean, I was like, Johnny, you got to be kidding me. He looked at me and goes, so how do you want me to do this, Chris? I'm like, Johnny, come on, brother. I didn't call you for me to tell you how to play the drums in any way, shape, or form. I want you to be you. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. And he's the only thing I had. The only thing I told told him was, I said, Johnny, we're both drummers. I'll set the time. Just stay on the beat, stay on the time, because I'm going to wiggle around you. And with the drummer who isn't used to that, or someone who isn't as open-minded as Johnny. Johnny's a very philosophical dude when it comes to music, and so am I. And we both have kind of elastic senses of time, but two players with an elastic sense of time can create a train wreck. So with Johnny, I said, Johnny, these are my songs. I'm gonna move around you as long as you stay on beat and stay on. We'll play off of each other. It'll work well. And I mean, his version, if with Snakes, that's blues drumming at its finest. There's little spots where he and I have musical ADHD. There's little spots in that song, in the performance. There's no overdubs. There's no nothing on any of that record. Everything is every note that was played. In post-production, there's a little more reverb on my voice and everything, but nothing, there's no fixes or no touches or no erases, nothing. And when I listen to that, I'm listening to Vodakovich. He's a master at what he does. He truly is. He's a killer.
And in yourself, what does blues conjure up in yourself? What's your take on?
It's a great time-honored tradition to tell the story of somebody's life. That's my take on the blues. I find the progression, the blues progression, is seminal. 1-4-5 and all its permutations. It allows for starting the listener in one spot, bringing them away, changing things a little, but just bringing them back home. And it is incredibly effective at doing that. Now, I think the blues needs the tradition, the current environment of blues music, I think could use a bit of a shot in the arm. I think it's a lot of what's been done before. I hear when I listen to a lot of contemporary blues, I hear very good musicians. I don't hear a lot of songs that I remember after the fact. I don't. And as it is, if somebody asks me if I am what am I first, a guitar player or a songwriter, I'm going to hang my hat on a songwriter first and foremost. Now, that being said, I've spent a life playing blues music. And can certainly, I get, put it this way, Colin, I get asked to join blues bands often, and I say no, because I want to tell my own story, my own way, and it does not only deal with the conventional, expected version of blues that a lot of people play. And I'm fine with that. And I know that I may, I know that I may alienate some traditional purists with that view, but when I played a gig a couple weeks ago, and I had a guy, a rough and tumble biker type guy, come up to me, crying, like holding back tears, and he was like, I would like to buy a record, and I'd like you to sign it because you sing the story of my life. I'm like, well, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, brother. Here's a record. Here you go. And I think it's the songs. My take on blues, the blues is a fantastic vehicle to tell real stories. It just doesn't have to be the blues of the 1950s rehashed. And that's me. And for me, the blues is a slide guitar, for personally. Like when I the for all of the jazz and the jazz theory and the different syncopations and all the other stuff, there is something as a guitar player to stripping all that shit back and just playing with the slide can be a very you get back to roots when you're playing a slide. You can be specific with it. Sorry, my dog's making a fuss. You can be specific and you can be very note perfect, or it can be Sunhousey. And son of a bitch, if I don't like getting Sunhousey sometimes, brother, you'll hear it on the record. Some of it is I couldn't play exactly what I play on the record in some of those spots. Yeah, there's no way. I could approximate it, but there's so much immediacy and improvisation in what I view as real blues. Like when Muddy Waters played, he wasn't playing in those solos. He had a rough idea what he was going to go, where he was going to go, but he wasn't. It's not classical music. Is not picking every note, and you play it long enough. Hopefully, as an instrumentalist, you get to the point where you can play what's in your head. And the cool part is, sometimes when I listen back to it, I know what I was going for, but something else creeps in, and I'll take it every single time. I'll take it.
What's your best advice to an up-and-coming musician?
Up-and-coming musician or up-and-coming guitar player?
Or guitar player, or what you have heard yourself.
Listen to everything. Listen to the stuff that's way out of your genre. If you don't like it, don't fight it. Don't listen to it. But listen to all different types of music. As a guitar player, be yourself. Be yourself. I love Albert King. When I want to listen to Albert King, I press play on Albert King. I don't turn on contemporary blues radio where I hear an awful lot of Albert King. If I don't know if Albert King's, as a guitar player, when I listen to snippets of modern blues songs, I'm like, Jesus Christ, if you could only copyright some of that shit, his family would be trillionaires. And for a musician, look, man, it took me a long time to get to this point and an awful lot of shitty situations to get here. But if you're an artist, live like an artist, tell your own story, and then let the chips fall where they may. I write songs. Do it because if you're a musician, you're a musician. If you want to sell stuff, now granted, obviously, Good Crook is for sale. I will rent out my services to play music for people for certain fees. But as an artist, this is, it took me a long. Why did I drink so much for so long? Because I was hiding from what I was. This is what I am. Best advice for anybody who's musical or artistic in any way. Just be yourself. Write your own stuff for yourself. If other people like it, that's a bonus. But as long as you like it, that's important. That's the most important thing. Be yourself. That's the most important thing. Find yourself and be yourself. And as an instrumentalist, it takes a long time. It takes a long time to develop a voice that's your own on an instrument that millions of people have played. No matter saxophone, guitar, bass, doesn't make a difference. When I hear, like I said, when I hear Albert King, 2 notes, it's Albert King. 2 notes, it's B.B. King. When I listen to Vodakovich, 1 drum roll, there he is. That's him. He's got this like scary, quick, like micro roll that he'll do, and it's all over Midnight After All. Whereas like a regular rock drummer would bang, 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 bang on the 4s. He's doing all these little figures in between on the snare. That's something that I really caught. I heard it obviously, but I keyed in on it this weekend. When I was listening to the record, I'm like, man, he is something else. Something else. He's himself.
And one last thing, what would you like to say to the Blues Matters magazine public? Is there anything you have to say?
For the Blues Matters magazine public, keep falling in love with the blues and have an open mind as far as what the blues can still be instead of what it has to be. It doesn't have to be. The short answer is this. In perpetuity, blues is going to be rooted in the past. It does not have to stay there. It's a good place to be, but it's not a necessary place to be all the time. And that's that.
That's it.
That's how I feel. Again, I want to make friends. I know that I'm going to alienate some very, very hardcore traditionalists, but maybe if they listen to the songs, that might change their mind. And if they don't like me and they don't like Vodakovich, they can not like me. That's fine. But if you listen to Johnny play those drums and say, "Oh, that guy sucks," and then there's something wrong with that equation, for sure.
Right.
I'll hang my
Brilliant.
hat on that one, brother.
Yeah. Brilliant speaking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colin.
And good luck with the new album. And I take it you'll be touring as well.
Yeah, it's all in the works, man. It's
Yep.
all in the works. I'm moving with a little bit of with quite a bit of an unconventional strategy in releasing this record. And so far it's working. It's working. And thanks to people like you who are open-minded and listen to it and say, yeah, well, this is not 1950s blues music, but it's blues just the same. I can't thank you enough. And I hope your listeners love it, man. I hope they love it.
Great stuff. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
brother. I'll catch up with you soon. Thank you.
See you again.
All right, man. Take care.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.